to go on a skiing trip, right?
Okay, so you knew at this stage what was happening. So take us now from, you're off the plane now in
We're
Romania.
off the plane, and then we landed in Bucharest, and we were travelling to Brasov, and then to Piana Brasov, which is a 3-hour bus journey from the airport. So we got to, they travelled on a different bus now to us. There was 4 buses to take us to our hotels.
Yeah, so they all jumped on the one bus naturally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, on the bus there also happened to be 2 quite experienced, mature, well, they were slightly old skiers, you know.
Yes.
2 people from Belfast who said that their singing and whatever was left a lot to be desired. But, like, I mean, I can understand that. Like, I mean, I've been to rugby internationals, and I can understand the boisterous behaviour and everything.
When the boys are out and they're going away, like, they'll enjoy themselves. Right,
exactly.
Okay. So you arrived then to your destination?
Then, and that's when the fun started.
Okay.
They started first bickering amongst themselves once we got there about, I don't know what, about who was staying with what rooms or whatever. But that was, like, I mean, that was only to be expected because they were quite drunk at this stage.
Hmm.
Now,
and probably a little bit tired and hadn't had a drink maybe in a couple of hours.
Yeah. Well, no, they drank solidly from the bus journey also.
Oh, they had drink on the bus?
Yeah, they got drinking duty free.
Oh, right, okay.
So they drank solidly. So that night, New Year's Eve, we were all at a disco, and that's when it started.
Right.
They started fighting. Now, it was going on. You could see that it was beginning to build up, that there was tension building up between the Romanians and the Irish.
Mm.
And next thing, glasses started flying. There was just all hell broke loose. It was like something from a war movie. There were punches, kicks, there were glasses thrown, and eventually the police were called. Now, what I just cannot get over, and I cannot comprehend at all, is the fact that the police pointed guns at these guys' heads, the Irish guys' heads, and they still continued to fight.
They pointed guns at their heads.
And, like, this is still, even though legally it is not a communist country, it still is very, like, 95% of the people there are still under the communist rule.
And I was going to say, the police were called here to this, where there was a row breaking out, and they come in and took the guns out of their holsters and put them to and they still continued.
And they still continued to fight. Now, granted, this is only about 4 or 5 of them that continued, and the other guys then realised
what was happening,
and tried to pull them away. Now,
was the disco, I presume, was pretty packed, Orla?
Yeah, it was New Year's Eve and everyone was in jolly spirits. There were fireworks displays going on over the entire resort, and it was really, really nice.
Yes. Okay. So what happened then? The police were there, and they had guns pointed at fellas' heads and all of that. And where did we go from there?
They separated the groups, and they got the Irish out of the hotel. Now, in the meantime, the Irish continued to fight among themselves over who started what, and at this stage, one of the guys had a broken jaw in 2 places.
Mm.
Now, he didn't realise it because the following day he went up on the slopes thinking that he would be able to ski.
Yeah.
And but then the alcohol started to wear off him, and then the pain set in.
Oh, right. So we didn't know.
It was like the morning after a battlefield when you saw their faces the following day. There were black eyes and cuts and bruises.
So they got a few digs from these Romanian fellas.
Yeah.
And have you any idea of why the row started? I mean, did somebody make a remark, or was it just they were looking for a fight?
No, the Irish, in fairness, were looking for a fight. They came in and just tried to take over the entire disco.
Yeah.
They pushed people off the dance floor to take over the.
And this is exclusively men now.
Well, no. In fairness, there was about 6 girls travelling with them, 6 or 7 girls travelling with them.
And how did they behave?
Would you believe that one of them started laughing and joining in when all the fighting was going on?
Right.
That's what shocked me more.
She enjoys a good row, obviously.
She enjoyed a good row.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're on skiing the next day then, and the boys are looking worse for the wear, yeah?
Yeah. They lasted, I'd say, about 2 hours skiing, and then they all went to the pub again. And that basically was for the entire week. Bar, I'd say, 10 of them. The rest of them had absolutely no interest in skiing, even though the holiday cost £500.
Right.
They were obviously well subsidised by the GAA if they continued.
Well, they allegedly, we'll say, were subsidised.
Well, they told us they were.
Okay.
Only the players.
Okay. Well, money was raised to
Money was raised, yes.
Now, drink obviously is cheap enough out here, is that right?
Drink is very cheap out there. All the import stuff really is quite expensive. Like, I mean, a bottle of Heineken, you can pay anything up to $3.50.
Yeah, but there's local fountains.
But local beer, like, I mean, you could get a local beer or a local bottle of wine for anything from 25 pence to £1.
Right.
You would find it impossible to spend money out there.
Okay, so after that, were there any further problems in the hotel or otherwise, Orla?
Night since from then on, there were police on there was about 12 hotels in the resort, and there was discos in all of them. There were police, armed police on the doors every night. And it didn't seem to bother the Irish at all. They absolutely rampaged and ransacked one hotel, destroyed the furniture, broke windows, threw glasses, just wrecked the hotel.
Did any other Irish join these guys from Monaghan?
Did any other Irish?
Yeah, I mean...
No, because you were embarrassed. Because there was at least 300 British people there. And they found it all very, very horrific and disgusting, and they said you should be embarrassed to be Irish.
Yeah.
And I said I am.
Yeah.
I said I can honestly say, I said I've never come across behaviour like this. And one English lady said, don't ever, she said, talk about English soccer hooligans, English thugs, she said, because nothing can be worse than what I've just seen.
Now, the hotels were wrecked. Were any of these guys arrested or made pay?
No, you see, the story in Romania is that it is very much trying to build up as a tourist resort, right? It's because it has been off, because of the communist rule, the communist regime, it hasn't been a tourist area. Now, the government entirely run the hotels, the resort, everything. The government own everything. And they didn't
press any charges.
Because they don't want
they don't want to get a bad name as somewhere.
Exactly. Now, there was a friend of mine who travelled with me who actually got very, very sick out there, and we had to end up calling an ambulance for her. But because everyone who spoke English was at one of the rows, trying to break up and trying to translate and interpret for the drunken louts, her ambulance was delayed by 45 minutes. Now, at the time, we thought it was meningitis. So not only did they put make it show themselves, but they also put, it could have been her life in jeopardy.
I was just going to say to you, was there anybody hurt badly in any of this trouble?
One of them was flown home with broken jaw. One of the Monaghan chaps was flown home.
Right, that was the guy that broke his jaw the first night.
The word got back then to Monaghan about this, and there were mothers ringing the hotels constantly to see how their poor little sons were, that they had heard that they were in prison. Now, for someone to raise someone like that and then worry about them, it's just, it's beyond any reason. I think they were a disgrace, and they embarrassed us, the other 40 Irish that were with them.
Yeah. And everybody...
We actually denied that we were Irish. We pretended that we were British at one stage, which I would never have done in my life.
You actually had to pretend that you were British?
We pretended we were British to get into one of the nightclubs.
Oh, my God. Now, these guys then, after wrecking half of the town or village or wherever you were staying in, I presume they ran out of money and energy maybe near the end of the week, or did they?
Couldn't run out of money. That's just it. You know, you could go out and eat for two people go out and eat and spend less than £1 and have a 3-course meal. You just could not spend money out there.
So once there was money around and everything, things were going grand. Now, we're coming near the end of the week now, and there's guards or police.
There's police absolutely everywhere.
And can't wait for you to go home.
And it didn't intimidate them one bit.
Right.
They continued their drinking right through day, night, and whatever. At this stage, everyone had kind of broken away and just left them on their own because we just didn't want to be associated at all with them.
Yeah. Now, then when you got back to the plane or when you were heading home, were there any problems there?
There was, when we were on the plane, one of them, who I presume seemed to be the amusing one, he seemed to do all the amusing for them, got on the intercom and started talking to the pilot.
On the plane?
On the plane.
Yeah.
Now, the plane was, let's say, backwards, to say the least, you know?
Yeah, it was a foreign air company, I know.
And then when we landed, we were convinced at this stage that we were actually hoping, because we wanted to ring ahead and have them arrested in Belfast, because they were just a disgrace.
Even on the plane coming back?
Even on the plane coming back, they sang, they shouted, they insulted the air hostesses and the air stewards. And one guy seemed to be recording all this, and he said, we'll have a great laugh in, I don't know, whatever pub they were going to tonight, watching all this.
Oh, he had a video camera with him and all?
Video camera with him.
Just a holiday memory for himself.
Exactly. I just hope he got the blood bath, and that they're proud of themselves, because they destroyed a holiday for 40 Irish people who, and...
Have you written a letter to this? We don't want to name the club, but have you written a letter to the club?
I have indeed, yes.
You have?
Yeah.
And have you had any response?
I wouldn't have done yet. Like, I mean, I only...
You sent it only recently?
sent it this week, you know.
And were there any of this group, we're tarring them all with the one brush, were there any of them that disassociated themselves with the other guys?
There was actually one guy in my ski group, and he disassociated himself with them, as did his girlfriend. And they were embarrassed, and they asked to be changed hotels. They asked for the hotels to be changed. That they just didn't want to have anything to do with them.
So you got back to Belfast, and it was all over then? There was nobody to arrest them?
There was guys getting up on the conveyor belt to go in to look for their baggage, and they continued to sing. And like, I mean, I understand a certain degree of boisterous behaviour, but when it turns to violence, it's a very different thing. And the point I wanted to make, my main point for ringing today, was that we always tar the soccer hooligans, the English soccer hooligans, and I've been to World Cups myself, and I know that the Irish are not angels no matter what. People say, they always say that every country wants the Irish there, and that they don't want the English. And when we were in Italy, they were all saying, oh, the Irish are fabulous. This was worse than any
that you've ever seen,
that I've ever come across.
And it involved guys that play Gaelic football. 45
Southerners.
Yeah, that are GAA guys.
That are GAA guys.
And you were surprised at that. Do you think that they were all, are they louter sort of people, do you think, or would they be generally upwardly sort of people in there? You know, did you come across, did you think that's what they just broke out for the weekend? I think that there was a certain degree of that, but I think some of them were so vicious and were so violent that there's no possible way that they could have just learned this overnight. Right. Well, Orla, it's a very, very interesting story. I hope your holiday wasn't too bad, and maybe you can go back to Romania without these guys some other time. And your holiday was ruined.
It was absolutely ruined. It was
£500 or maybe £1,000 holiday, ruined completely.
Exactly. Well, I've written to Balkan Tours, and hopefully they'll do something about it.
Right, and you've written also to the GA club involved in Monaghan, and you're awaiting a response from them on this. Well, there's not much more that they can do at this point for you anyway. Okay, well, Orla, listen, thanks very much for that, and we look forward maybe to hearing this story, well, but hearing hopefully a nice outcome for you.
One of the points I did want to make was, it was the headlines on the national newspaper in Romania.
The headlines and that. Were there photographs taken of these guys?
No, there was just the headlines. Well, we got our ski instructor to translate. Irish thugs run havoc in Brasov.
We'll leave it at that. Orla, thanks a million. Bye-bye, bye-bye. There you are, folks. That's an interesting story. These guys from County Monaghan away on a skiing trip out here in Romania, and they simply ran havoc, ran riot around where they were staying. They had guns pointed to their heads by the local policemen there, according to Orla, and still they continue to fight and break up the place. So there you go. That's an interesting story. 22 minutes away from 1.